President Trump invited these two to be his special guests at the State of the Union last week, and we invited them to be special guests of ours this week.
Through the skill of her doctors and the prayers of her parents, little Ellie kept on winning the battle of life. Today, Ellie is a strong, healthy 2-year-old girl sitting with her amazing mother, Robin. In the gallery, Ellie and Robin, we are glad to have you with us tonight.
That's Ellie and Robin Schneider at last week's 2020 State of the Union address. Ellie is one of the earliest premature babies ever to survive. During the State of the Union, President Donald Trump pointed to the family's incredible witness of survival and said Ellie's witness is why he is asking Congress to provide an additional $50 million to fund neonatal research and to pass legislation banning late-term abortion. Now joining us from Kansas City, Kansas is Robin and little Ellie Schneider. Welcome both of you to the show. First off, it's been 1 week since you were at the State of the Union. Tell us, what was it like to be guests of the President of the United States and forever a part of history?
It's very remarkable, especially for someone like me who loves history, and now I get to be part of history that was made this year. It just blows my mind to think that someday someone will read President Trump's speech and my daughter will be mentioned.
Robin, when did you receive an invitation? What details can you share with us?
Well, I first heard from the White House they had considered bringing us out for the March for Life event this year. And then I hadn't heard anything from them. That was about the beginning of January. So I thought that chapter was over. But on the 25th, which is the day after the march, they called me and asked if we would like to come to the State of the Union as President Trump's guest. And I was just blown away. I started crying and laughing. It was quite the scene. But we were very excited, and of course we said yes right away.
And during that State of the Union address, the president pointed to Ellie's witness to make a major announcement. Let's take a listen.
I am asking Congress to provide an additional $50 million to fund neonatal research for America's youngest patients.
Robin, what went through your mind in that moment?
I'm so excited because prematurity, I feel like, is not a forefront issue. People don't know that much about prematurity. They don't know about these babies that are born before they're supposed to be. And when he, all of a sudden, in front of the nations, in front of all of these people, talked about these preemie babies who have no witness, and talked about funding more research, which is what saved my daughter's life. I was in tears. It was so much for me.
I love Ellie's singing voice. And Robin, last week you spoke with my colleague Tracy Sable on EWTN News Nightly and said Ellie's medical care totaled up to about $10 million. It is so difficult to wrap my head around that number, but Robin, can you speak to the reality of high medical costs facing families of premature babies?
Yeah, thankfully, we were able to get assistance to pay for that. But when I first saw that bill, I think I went into shock. I just started laughing because who can pay that? Who can afford to pay $10 million? And that was only for her NICU stay. That wasn't for any of the care afterwards, which she has 2 therapists, and she was going to a follow-up clinic and a regular pediatrician, and she has 2 medicines that she has to take daily, and one of those medications is $30,000 a month. So preemies are extremely expensive, and under a lot of proposed insurance laws, they would be deemed as pre-existing conditions, which would mean parents would be paying for that out of pocket.
And Ellie is one of the youngest premature babies ever to survive. Can you describe the condition of her health when she was born?
She was not supposed to survive. She was only 13 ounces. She had no body fat. Her skin was translucent and broke apart when it was touched. You could see her organs through her skin because she was so tiny.
And look at her today. I mean, she's so alive. She's moving and so alive today.
I know.
Yes. And finally, Robin, I've read that you consider Ellie's survival a miracle. Can you tell us more about why?
When you go to a doctor and they tell you that your baby is going to die, there is nothing like the gut punch that comes from that. And when you go to 5 doctors and they all say the exact same thing, you begin to actually believe it. And you know, she would have died if God hadn't sent us to the ultrasound tech when we did, if they hadn't caught the problem when they did, if we hadn't had the doctors and staff that we had, if the exact doctor at St. Luke's of neonatology hadn't been on call that night, she would not have made it. She should not have made it. All of the odds were stacked against her. If you try to use prematurity data on her, it doesn't work. The statistics fail. There are none. Her chance of survival was less than 0. And her chance of survival without major complications was even less than that. So the fact that she survived and has done so well, it's not comprehensible by a human. The only way you can explain it is by the hand of God.
And not only has she survived, she's in the nation's spotlight. It's really an incredible story and witness. Robin and Ellie Schneider, thank you for sharing your family's witness with us.
Thank you for having us today.